I'm sorry about that. Can you type it in the chat window? Anne, Erin, and Ranjana. Now I can see Erin.
Oh, it figures that mine's not going to work again. It says it's on. Can you hear me? Okay, then I'll just go ahead and get started and just know that I'm waving at you guys. Erin, one back from this. This is the second slide. Okay. I haven't been able to get a lot of work done yet this school year. This is the location of my school. As I told you all during the summer, it's located right on Bayou St. John. And this is where we'll be doing our water testing. In the backyard behind this building is where we'll be doing our atmosphere testing. So school started, and our very first topic was lab safety. And then as soon as we got to the end of lab safety, then Isaac hit. And we were out of school for one whole week. Erin, one more. We were out of school for 1 week, but when we got back, it opened up a lively discussion about climate, atmosphere, what's going on with the weather, and things like that. In addition to having the students out, and most of them didn't have power, so they weren't able to keep up with assignments, it also delayed the equipment that was supposed to be coming in, and all of the equipment was somewhere in some warehouse and finally has been delivered. So as soon as we got back from the storm and our spontaneous week off, and yes, we do have to make up most of our time that we lost, then I had the students do their pre-test, and they were interested in finding out what they were going to be doing this for. I had mentioned the program to them, but I didn't want them to know anything about it before they did the pre-test. So we have our pre-test completed, and then I brought them out into the backyard of the school, and in the backyard is where we'll be doing our atmosphere testing as soon as I get the station set up. And in the backyard we did a project called the Sense of Place activity. It's something that I've done every year to get the students interested in looking at the environment, even though it is, well, you'll see that in a minute. It's just a concrete environment, but we have one little grassy patch, and that's where I have them doing their Sense of Place activity. So they went outside and they had to map it out, and on their map they had to include all of the different living things that they could find, and it bordered on concrete paths. So it's the only grassy spot we have right in the middle of the backyard, and they were able to map that out and notice all of the different types of land cover. We have one little tree there and several different kinds of grasses, but not too much else. Then we were able to determine our GPS coordinates, our altitude, and our muck classification, which is all concrete, as I said before. We're right in the middle of a residential area. We're the only school in that area and all houses all around us. And as soon as we determined that, I introduced them to the atmosphere, and we did an activity where they had to calculate the percent of oxygen in our air. And this activity uses a rust activity where they remove water, they remove oxygen from the air and do a water displacement. So we had this set up for a couple of days where the steel wool was rusting and using up the oxygen, and then the water moved up the test tube. And it actually comes out to be pretty accurate. It's pretty close to 20% oxygen, which amazed them. They thought the air was all oxygen. And then, as soon as they calculated that, we did an activity where they had to graph.
And I'm out in Fairfield, Montana with things that
and see how we have oxygen.
Second grade through seventh grade. I have 7 students
now,
this year.
Before.
This is the students after we came up with kind of our initial
carbon dioxide. And since we did this graph activity,
climate and
we have done a lab on the Coriolis effect so that they can
see, I forget how I have it ordered up at the top, the quality,
the weather
and then we just had a
and we
list
also
with you,
used, of course, the
macroinvertebrate
rotating turntable so that they could see the hurricane
and
patterns. And next week I should have my weather station set up. And
I had students, since we don't have a lot of climate data, do research interviews. I had them interview local farmers and everybody who lived in the area more. And it was interesting to see the similarities between the students, because every student that interviewed had 2 stories that they told everyone about. One was when the weather changed 60 degrees over a period of 24 hours, and another story of when it was super hot during one of the summers. So it was interesting to see that similarity, and all of the students were commenting about what they noticed there. And we went out, we haven't had to do a lot so far. We don't have a weather station set up yet. We're also in the process of trying to get that going. And then about 30 miles from the school, and did mapping of our testing environment. So this is our stream rate that we were testing in, and the students are out there mapping. And we took out the GPS and found which direction was north and south and east and west and so on. And that was kind of interesting for students to understand that maps are not always with the north. And then here we are doing testing and some for our discard water here, and it says poison on there, so I don't have to worry about any of the kiddos drinking it. And then some of the ladies here with the safety gear, with their glasses and their masks and their goggles and everything. I was lucky enough to have a volunteer come out that had actually done some water testing in college. Such groups, so I made sure that everyone had an opportunity to do at least 2 tests. And then the next time we go out, and we'll swap so that the kids have an opportunity to do different. And have some of the chemicals in it that are a little bit more worrisome. I'm just having my 7th grade girls do that. Younger students, when it's just they wanted to play in the water, so they were challenged, and also watching the minnows. And then one of my kids found a snail, decided to try to identify the charts. And then on the lower left-hand side, one of my 3rd graders popping one of the tabs into the test tube. Again, they're reading, watching minnows there. And we went through kind of some ways that we could improve the testing process for right now. And one of the ones is they kind of wanted to speed up the process because my little kids tend to get a little bit more impatient. So the more parent volunteers so it could go a little quicker. Cereal for studying the macroinvertebrates, they thought like some candy and spoons because they weren't having a lot of turkey-based that we were more time at the testing location. And then I will hand it over to Ranjana for her part here.
Can you hear me now? Okay. Okay. We are working for the importance of water quality for human consumption. Like I said in the beginning, we were testing 3 different samples, but now this year I started testing the water only from the River Jacinto. And this river is channeling Houston. It is in the outskirts of Houston and quite far from our school. So I went there to collect the sample for students, and we did the basic testing for the water. One, Erin, please. Next slide. This is where we are located, right in the heart of Houston. Students are testing the water, the basic tools they are using, and when I started doing this, I didn't get the equipments then, but now I have it and I'm ready to install them and started using them. When we started, we just started with the basic testing. Please move on. Students, their test water. Make information about the River Jacinto from where I collected the water samples. Since we have just started testing, even though we are in school for past 1 month, several reasons we could not move too much. So these are our questions: how a river naturally evolves and forms its path. What are the imperfections of the river water? What causes these imperfections? Is the river water safe and drinkable for humans?
And
Are there any questions?
Please move on, Erin.
okay,
Does climate
go
affect
ahead,
the
Julie.
surrounding vegetation? Is there any change in water quality in past 10 years? What is the role of climate for change in water quality? So gradually we are moving to our base topic, the climate, and I hope by December we'll be able to accomplish all this.